Hello and welcome to the next in the how-to series of videos. Today we're going to take a look at the adjustable pedal box. But before we get started, and just in case you're not with me all the way until the end, I'm going to put my appeal in real early. If you're enjoying these videos and they are helpful for you, please do give the video a thumbs up. If you've got any thoughts or comments, please do drop a comment in the box below. And if you've not done so already, please subscribe to the channel. This way you're going to get notifications every time I put new content out. So if you can do those things for me, that would just be awesome. Before we get started, a couple of considerations. It's quite likely that the reason you want to adjust your pedal box is so you can heel and toe comfortably, that the brake and the throttle pedal height are a good, comfortable height for you to be able to move between those two pedals with your right foot. Now, a consideration is if this perhaps was comfortable and now is not, or at least something to check or consider first is, are your brakes bled properly? This could be a reason for the brake travel to be different to what it was before, and I would kind of suggest, and I'll pop a link in the video below, that you make sure your brakes are bled through properly and you've got a really firm and high brake pedal. Make sure you do that anyway before adjusting the brake pedal. It's kind of the first thing to do. Now I'm partway through checking my car prior to going on track. I've bled the brakes through, but I know that I just need to bring my brake pedal up just a touch to make it really comfortable for the heel and toe. Another consideration is the type of pedal box your car may have. Mine is a 2020 Academy car, Sigma based, so bear that in mind, but the principles should be fairly similar once you get inside the pedal box. So the first thing to do is to remove the pedal box cover. Let's take a look at that. So the couple of tools you need for this is a Phillips head screwdriver and an 8mm spanner for the bolts down the side of the pedal box. Okay, so a consideration, as you can see here, are the bolts on top and one down the side are also holding the brake line secure. So with that in mind, just use an element of care as you're removing these bolts. Okay, with all of the bolts removed, the pedal box slides towards the front of the car to remove. And now we can see the pedal arrangement. The one that we're interested in today is adjusting the brake. And the consideration here is its relationship to the brake switch. It's really important that when you adjust your brake pedal adjustment, you adjust the brake switch accordingly. You could find you've got one of two scenarios. If this is not done, scenario one would be the brake light is permanently on. Scenario two would be the brake light doesn't come on or doesn't come on until you're heavily braking. What I find easiest is, regardless of what adjustment you're making to the brake pedal, I remove the brake switch and then refit it and reset it once I've completed the adjustment on the brake pedal. For this you will need a 19mm and a 17mm spanner. And there we go, the brake switch. We're just going to pop to one side there. Let's take a closer look at the brake pedal arrangement. Here's the rod that comes from the brake master cylinder, and what I'm going to want to do to raise my pedal up, I need to extend the travel along this bar just very slightly, just a couple of turns and then a test. This plate here is the plate that makes contact with the brake light switch, and this here is the brake light switch mount. To make the adjustment, I'm going to need to crack this nut, and then by turning the rod we'll increase or decrease the amount of thread here, and then tighten the nut back up against it. Using a 13mm spanner, I'm going to crack the nut Just unwind a little. As I mentioned, to bring the brake pedal up, I need to lengthen or move the top of the brake pedal away from the master cylinder. And to do that, I'm just going to turn the rod a couple of times clockwise. Make sure this plate is realigned so it makes contact with the brake switch, and just wind the nut up. What I'm going to do is jump in the car and try, and if I'm happy, then we're going to come back and lock all of this up. Okay, so that feels really good. I'm now going to lock this back in place. So now I'm going to refit the brake light switch. What's important to note here is it's a push to brake. In other words, when the switch is not under pressure, the brake lights are on, and when I push the switch down, the brake lights go off. So for that reason, it's a good idea to have the ignition on whilst you're refitting the brake switch, so you can get the amount of adjustment just right. So what I'm going to do is wind the thread up until there's enough pressure on the switch for the brake light to go out. So the brake light has just gone out, and as I start to apply the brake, the light immediately comes on. Once we're happy with the location, we're going to just nip these back together. And do give it one last check to make sure it's not moved whilst you were tightening. So all that's left for me to do now is to button this back up. So literally the reverse of what we've done. So there we go, another job done on the Caterham, and although this is a small job, it can make a huge difference to the way your car drives. And again, although a small job, this was one I found daunting when I owned my first Caterham, but with a bit of care, take things steady, this will be something you will get more confident and familiar with practice. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've not done so already, give it a thumbs up, and I really hope you're enjoying this series of how-to videos. I'll see you really soon.